Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the presiding official, Lieutenant General Retired Paul A. Chamberlain, the United States Army, welcome to today's promotion ceremony in honor of Brigadier General Paige M. Jennings, Director of the Manpower and Personnel, the Joint Staff. We want to extend a warm welcome to distinguished guests, Ms. Christine Obadal, the Honorable Mr. and Mrs. Maggie Spear, Vice Admiral Fred Ketcher, United States Navy, Vice Admiral Peter Garvin, United States Navy, Lieutenant General Todd Isaacson, United States Army, Lieutenant General Mark Bennett, United States Army, and Lieutenant General Retired Thomas Horlander, United States Army. Online, please welcome Lieutenant General Retired Ed Cardon, United States Army, and Mr. Aaron Gillison. For community leaders, general and flag officers, members of senior executive service, both active and retired, soldiers, Marines, sailors, airmen, and guardians, Department of War civilians, friends and family of the Joint Staff, the National Defense University, and the Greater National Capital Region. Thank you all for joining us both in person and virtually. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the arrival of the official party. The rendering of honors to Lieutenant General Retired Chamberlain, who is deferring honors to Brigadier General Jennings. The singing of the national anthem by Amanda Weathers, United States Air Force, and remain standing for the invocation delivered by Commander Crystalline Whalen, United States Navy.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? Let us pray. Almighty God, we stand before you today with gratitude as we celebrate the promotion of Brigadier General Paige M. Jennings to Major General. Lord, we thank you for her steadfast service to our country, to freedom, and to the men and women she leads. Oh Lord, from her beginnings in Mesquala, Montana, to her commissioning 31 years ago, to her current role on the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Jennings has personified the highest standard of leadership, sacrifice, and excellence. We are also thankful because from global deployments to strategic leadership at home, you have allowed her to serve at every level where she brings the gifts of wisdom, integrity, friendliness, and decisive counsel to the most complicated challenges. So Lord, continue to bless her with vision, compassion, and humility. Shower her with your divine protection as she faces new issues that impact the decision-making and work of warfighting. Oh God, we especially ask you to cover her husband, Larry, and their children, Amanda and Lawrence, with an abundance of grace and mercy. Fortify this family with the sweetness of your spirit as they rise to higher levels of service. And Lord, bless her parents, extended family, friends, and colleagues, all who have provided well-timed words of encouragement along the way. May they feel pride and the pride of supporting her, and may General Jennings continue to rely on the security of their love. Now, God, bless the words spoken by Lieutenant General Chamberlain. Bless all who have made this day possible. Anoint this professional military leader for the responsibilities you have entrusted to her as we witness the promotion of Brigadier General Paige Jennings to Major General in the United States Army. Glory to God, and we all say amen, amen, and amen.
Thank you, Major Weathers and Chaplain Whalen. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. It is my distinct honor and privilege to introduce our host for today's ceremony, Lieutenant General Retired Paul A. Chamberlain.
So most people who know me know that I can't stand on the stage because I don't like being on the stage. And I know Paige made sure that her staff knew that I was not going to stand still, that I have a habit of walking around. And if there's a camera, I will probably walk at a camera. And I'm sorry, good luck. Today is an awesome day. Awesome for a lot of reasons. We get to promote a tremendous officer, but I got to meet an incredible family and extended family and friends. So welcome, everybody. Welcome to Fort McNair. Who here has been to Fort McNair before? So a lot of people. You know about Fort McNair? Yeah, that's what I thought. So, hey, Fort McNair, it's on about 28 acres. It's a small installation. It's a little installation in the middle of Washington, D.C. It's on a point. The name of that point is called Buzzard's Point, which is kind of cool. But you know what a point is? It's a geographic description of a landmass, but it's where two rivers come together, the Anacostia and the Potomac. So that's how Fort McNair, the description of it. And it was established in about 1791 as part of the defensive network for our capital, for Washington. At the time, it was called the Washington Arsenal. At the Washington Arsenal, it built munitions, kind of like every other arsenal. And during the Civil War, the arsenal built munitions for the Union forces, and it was really had a workforce that was made up of mostly women. Why? Because supposedly they had smaller hands and they were able to roll tighter fuses for those munitions. Also because they had supposedly better attention to detail, and I can attest that you have better attention to detail. Fast forward to 1948. 1948, Washington Arsenal was renamed Fort McNair, named after Leslie J. McNair. Lieutenant General McNair was considered today the father of the modern Army. He had us come and develop the different formations, different training techniques, and equipping, and is credited for developing the Army and making sure that the soldiers who were deploying in World War II received the proper training, to include live fire training, and we continue to do live fire training today. We'll jump forward again to current day. So today, Fort McNair houses the National Defense University. The university has a series of colleges and other education centers. Now, in my opinion, the best college is the Dwight D. Eisenhower School for National Security and Resource Strategy. Why? Because that's the school that Paige and I went to. Now, Paige and I went to school there 10 years apart. but it's still the best school here. And there's that other college, National War College. I could always count on one, but that's Fort McNair today. So, welcome. I'm glad it stopped raining because this morning I thought we were all going to have to take a boat here. It was, at least out by us, it was raining cats and dogs. So with that said, I know that a number of our distinguished visitors were already recognized, but I'd like to recognize some more. Christine Obadal, thank you for being here. Undersecretary Obadal really wanted to be here. I saw him 2 weeks ago at Jim Mingus's retirement. He was roughing up his staff at that point, trying to get them to reschedule and rework the calendar. I know he really wanted to be here. But Christine, we're glad you're here representing. Thank you so much. Honorable Spear, you said something to me, I don't know, a year or so ago about thanks for always being there and coming to events. So you're at almost every single significant event, and even some of the small ones. So thank you for always being here and setting the example for all of us. We're so happy that you and Maggie were able to make it. Thank you. Gentlemen, thank you. We appreciate it. And to all the rest of the senior leaders and the staff who are here, thank you, particularly the Imperial Joint Staff. I say that as a term of endearment. And to all of the other leaders who are out there in the audience, thank you for showing up. It's a testament to the page. I'm going to start today a little bit differently than I've done other promotions. I'm going to read a series of quotes. I'm not going to tell you who said the quotes. That'll probably become clear as Paige does her remarks. But let me read them. And all I want you to do is just to remember them, keep them in the back of your brain housing group, and then I'll probably circle back around to them a little bit later. So the first one, leadership is all about people and getting the most out of them. As a leader, you set the tone for your entire team. Perpetual optimism is a force multiplier. I am talking about attitude that says we can get things done. We can achieve awesome goals. We can be the best. There is no such thing as an unimportant person in an organization. One of the greatest talents of all is the talent to recognize and develop talent in others. It ain't as bad as you think. It'll be better in the morning. And the last one, the most important thing I learned is that soldiers watch what their leaders do. You can talk at them all day long. You can train them forever, but it is your personal example that they will follow. So again, just think about those quotes as we work through the ceremony with Paige. All right, so first, we have a lot of friends and relatives here. So a couple of folks I'd like to recognize. We've got Colonel Retired Alan Lindley and Laurie. Are you here? We also have Chris and Corinne Zimmerman and Will Lewis. These are members of Paige's first unit. They knew Paige when she was lieutenant. Boy, do I have questions that I would love to ask. Not here and wasn't able to make it, but was certainly going to make it right up until yesterday, is Command Sergeant Major Paul Morissette. For those of you who don't know Paul Morissette, he is a legend in the finance community. And if you've ever had an opportunity to talk to him, you would walk away rejuvenated and in love with soldiers in the Army. He is just that dynamic. So I'm hoping that he's online. And Sergeant Major, we're sorry that you're not here, but thank you for setting the example, not just for Paige, but so many other officers, soldiers, and NCOs in our Corps and the Army. We'll move a little bit closer into the family. We'll start with your sister, Megan Tiffin and Ben Tiffin, brother-in-law. So Megan is a CPA, and we were just talking about a busy season for CPAs is right about now. So we're all wondering, Paige, why you said February. But that's okay, because as Paige described it, you're one, a best friend, two, her greatest supporter and cheerleader. You're always there for her, and there will never be anything that comes between you. That's the sister bond, and it ain't going to be broken. So Megan, thanks for coming. Also with Megan is her husband, Ben Tiffin. He's a mechanical engineer and also has a partnership in real estate. Ben, we're certainly glad you're here. It's exciting that you're able to support, and I understand that you come to all the significant events. And there's some things that you've been doing with Larry on the side. With them is Adeline and Bryn. Adeline is 16 and she's a freshman, right? Did I get that right? Freshman in high school. She likes math, and I've been trying to do some early recruiting because we do math in the Army. Look at the role model. But she's also a soccer player. She plays mid-center. So she loves offense. But she's not so bad on defense either, I understand. And then we have Bryn, who is 12, 7th grade. She too likes math. Now, I think I have a better chance of getting Bryn into the Army. At least that's what it seemed like a little bit ago. But Bryn is in volleyball. She's on the rear line. I asked her if she likes to get up to the net, and she said, I'm just not tall enough yet. Don't worry, you'll get there, I promise. But we're glad you're here to support your aunt. And speaking of aunts, we have Aunt Kana and Jim Popno up from Texas. Aunt and uncle, right? Ma'am, sure, we are so happy that you're here to celebrate with the family. It is exciting, and being able to participate in it with you is just an honor. We'll move in closer to the family. And I think what I'll do is I'll start with your mom and dad. So your mom and dad are online. Unfortunately, they weren't able to make it. Natalie and Alan Stoll. They are in Missoula, Montana. They are lifelong educators, and they've been married for 57 years. Let's give them a round of applause for 57 years. So between the two of them, they have over 80 years of experience in education. And they have always tried to go above and beyond for their student bodies. Alan was an industrial arts teacher, and Natalie was an accounting and business teacher, but she also was the advisor for the yearbook, and Alan was the coach for softball and volleyball. Two tremendous people. And Paige credits them for teaching her the importance of being part of a team and teamwork. But not only that, also realizing that everybody on the team, no matter how good, no matter how average, always had something to give to that team, whether they knew it or not. And that the team leaders are responsible for trying to get that out of each member of that team. Amanda. So I just met Amanda. It's almost a mini me. But Amanda is in her 3rd year of medical school. She's in a program with the University of Montana, but through the University of, and I'm going to mess this up and she'll correct me, University of Montana and the University of Washington. And it's part of a program where between the states of Washington, Wyoming, Alaska, Montana, and Idaho. Did I get it right? And she is able to participate in whether it be local medicine, rural medicine, or even level 1 trauma center medicine like in a big city. I kind of liken it. I'm going to date myself. 1990s, early 1990s, TV show, Northern Exposure. I just saw some big wide eyes because Amanda has no idea what I'm talking about. You'll have to Google it. The doctor goes up to rural Alaska and provides medical services. Just watch the show. Lawrence. Oh, I'm sorry. And also here with Amanda is her best friend. Where's Hannah? Hannah, you put on your jacket and you're not in black. Hannah and Amanda grew up together since they were, you said how long? So we're in here. So Hannah, we're glad that you're here supporting not just Amanda, but also with Paige. Lawrence. Lawrence is here local. He just started his own business. I'm not going to get it right. Aetherius. He was explaining it to me. It's something about the front end, the back end, websites, URLs, ISPs, and helping people with their websites. Computer shit. It sounded cool, and he showed me some examples. It's pretty amazing. So congratulations on that. He's doing that with 2 or 3 other friends. Is that correct? Now, he still has a little bit of college left to do, and he swears up and down, and I'm not getting paid from anybody to say this, he swears up and down that he is going to go back and finish and get his degree. But I got to tell you, some of the things that he was describing, the people that he's working with, you're getting a pretty good education there in the real world. All right. Larry. So this is always fun. First and foremost, married 32 years. That's also another round of applause. Can you grab the water? Larry works with MITRE and supports the Army around the world. In fact, I think you said you just got in recently from an overseas trip. So obviously being here, you didn't have a choice in, but we're glad that you're here. So you always learn something when you do these because I make people fill out cards. And I asked Paige, how did you meet Larry? Kind of like most people do, they met in a bar. Not unusual, except for the rest of the story. So Paige went to the bar with another guy and ended up talking to some other guy the entire night. The question is, who was that other guy? It was her dad. They were going to a Garth Brooks concert. Now, apparently, in Montana, at 18, you can go to a bar. You can't drink. Paige wrote that down. You can't drink. But apparently, you can gamble and eat. I guess that's better. But she did find her lifelong mate. And that's just awesome. Really cool. So, Alan, I don't know if you were planning on it, but that was a way to introduce your daughter to her future husband. And apparently, you didn't know Larry at all. You knew other family members because you come from a large family. But apparently, they hit it off and talked the entire night. And then you went to the Garth Brooks concert. Paige describes you as her rock of 32 years. Candid feedback, and always the first one to say, is it really that bad? So Larry, thank you. Thank you for being who you are and what you do. Our spouses are incredible people. The way they support us in the military. We can't do or achieve anything on our own without the support of our spouses and our family. They are tremendous. And Larry was the typical spouse. Supported FRGs, coordinated play dates with the kids. And oh, by the way, at the same time, he would go get his master's degree. That's the kind of spouses that we have in our families. So thank you. Thank you for all that you've done. Thank you for being here. Okay, on to Paige. Paige, the family is from Missoula, Montana. So I didn't mention that at the beginning. And if you don't know where Missoula, Montana is, it's on the western part of Montana, almost all the way into Idaho. It's the second largest city in Montana. That's where the University of Montana is. It's also known as the hub of 5 valleys. Why? Because there's like 5 mountain ranges and they all come together. And I guess that was the only flat ground to build the University of Montana. But you're from there. And she got her degree from the University of Montana. But again, there's things that you learn when you have them write down these cards. She didn't go to the University of Montana at first. You were actually at Gonzaga for a couple of years. Not only were you at Gonzaga for 2 years, but she also had won an appointment to West Point. But you decided to go the ROTC route. Now, Paige didn't know anything about the military because there was nobody in your family that was familiar with the military. Is that correct? But her dad would shoot trap with the PMS at the University of Montana, and Paige would oftentimes run the trap range. And Colonel Tony McDermott was constantly talking to Paige about the Army and ROTC. And today, we have you getting ready to pin on Major General. So thank you to Colonel Tony McDermott. I'd like to ask folks what were some defining events in their careers and their life. And Paige said she didn't really think she had anything that was defining. Her entire childhood, she said, was defining. She said, Mom and Dad kept all of us busy. You know, I said, no, I don't know. She said, you know, like driving the tractor and baling hay when I was in elementary school. I'm like, elementary school? So my vision was Paige sitting there with her big smile on, driving that tractor or a combine. That's the vision I had when you described that to me. That smile right there. And of course, she was on a bunch of sports teams. And of course, she was the captain of those teams, all of which that she says helped develop her leadership skills. I asked her about some of the other leaders that she worked with. And I got to tell you, Paige has worked with some of the giants and titans in our profession in the military. 3 and 4 stars, just amazing leaders. And Paige, the fact that you asked me to do this is very humbling. But when I asked her what she took from some of the leaders, she's like, you know, I think I took more away from the not so good and average leaders. The good ones were good, but I learned more about myself and about leadership from some of those that may not have been up to snuff. I thought that was interesting. And then, of course, you also wanted to make sure that we recognized those individuals from your first unit. To include the commander, Eldon Mullis, I saw you. Yep. So not only the young officers and NCOs and the sergeant major, but the commanders in their first unit. Set the tone and gave the best foundation of what it takes to be a soldier and an officer in the Army. I also ask questions like, okay, so what do you think you're going to be known for? My favorite, and this is absolutely correct, is from Command Sergeant Major Joy Allen. She said, we called her Squirrel. And everybody who's laughing knows exactly why. Because Paige is running from point to point, issue to issue. She is never, ever slowing down. And she does it with this big smile on her face all the time. So I also asked her, I said, what else? And she said, well, I kind of have this upbeat energy about me. I said, yeah, you do. And I said, but you're forgetting something very important. Paige, you hung out at Fort Bragg for 15 years. That's kind of a defining moment. Now, I say hanging out. I could say hiding out. We had heard this name, Paige Jennings, but I had never met her. For 15 years. But Undersecretary Obadal said, hey, you know what, Paige? You ought to get down to Fort Jackson and introduce yourself to General Chamberlain. I said, huh, hey, Paige, it's nice to finally put a face to a name. And now I say she was hanging out. She wasn't just hanging out. She was doing some really incredible things. She was supporting some of our most elite forces, making sure that the resourcing was there. But Secretary Obadal saw more in Paige. Paige was actually asked to deploy. Be the night CHOPS. And most of you don't know what the CHOPS is. That's the Chief of Operations. But that's the operations officer. And as most of you know, our elite forces, they don't do a whole lot of operations during the day. They do most of their operations at night. And we put a finance officer in charge of the operations job. That says a lot right there. But Secretary Obadal did that for a reason. Why? Because the next step was then to make Paige the deputy commander of support for those forces. It was done only one other time. And where are you? I just saw you. One other person did it, comptroller and deputy commander of support. But Paige did that for our elite forces. That's recognizing leadership. It's recognizing talent. You know, I asked Paige how she likes to spend time relaxing. She said, oh, you know, driving the RV. And again, I got this vision. Now, Paige is a little bit older now, so the steering wheel's down here, but she still has that big grin on her face as she's tooling around in the RV. I asked about some other professional accomplishments and things, and one of them that she said was becoming airborne, having to overcome the fear of heights. Paige, I absolutely agree with you. It makes absolutely no sense why anybody jumps out of a perfectly good aircraft while in flight, when we know that that aircraft is going to turn around and go back and land. But we did it. The other thing that she's most proud of is helping to develop and mentor our junior officers and NCOs. And she does that really, really well. There's a testament to folks who are here in the audience. There's others across the Pentagon that have a lot to say and share about Paige, but again, a testament to you. So now think back to those quotes. The embodiment of the characteristics and traits of those quotes are sitting right there on the front stage. The Army is better for having you in it. I'm better for having known you. But to expand her breadth of influence, I think it's time that we make you a major general so that you can continue to do what you do best, which is to lead, develop, and resource our Army. What do you say we get you promoted? Can we get her promoted? All right, let's go ahead and do this.
Thank you, sir. At this time, joining Brigadier General Jennings and Lieutenant General Retired Chamberlain on stage is the Jennings family. Her husband, Mr. Larry Jennings, daughter, Miss Amanda Jennings, son, Mr. Lawrence Jennings, sister, Mrs. Megan Tiffin, and nieces, Miss Adeline and Miss Bryn Tiffin. Ladies and gentlemen, please remain seated for the publishing of the official orders. The President of the United States has reposed special trust and confidence in the patriotism, valor, fidelity, and abilities of Paige M. Jennings. In view of these qualities and her demonstrated potential for increased responsibility, is therefore promoted in the United States Army to the rank of Major General, effective 30 January 2026. Signed, the Honorable Daniel P. Driscoll, the 26th Secretary of the Army.
The shoulder. Yeah. The point goes to her neck. Right, you can help them put it on. Not off me.
Thank you, Mr. Jennings, Amanda, Lawrence, Megan, Adeline, and Bryn. At this time, Lieutenant General Retired Chamberlain will deliver the official promotion certificate. Although it is not required by law, it is tradition that officers recite the oath of office upon promotion. Please remain seated as Lieutenant General Retired Chamberlain administers the oath of office.
Okay, before I start the oath, just make a couple comments about our oath. So as described, we don't have to do this, but we always like to renew the oath of office. And when we take our oath not to a person, not to a position, not to a legislature, not to a religion, not even to the flag itself. We take the oath to the values that are outlined in the Constitution. So please listen to the words. Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your whole name.
I, H. Jennings,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
to support and defend the Constitution of the United States
to support and defend the Constitution of the United States
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without purpose of evasion or mental reservation,
without purpose of evasion or mental reservation,
that I will well and faithfully
that I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties of the office
discharge the duties of the office
upon which I'm about to enter.
upon which I am about to enter.
So help me God. Congratulations. Ladies and gentlemen, Major General Paige Jennings, our newest Major General in the United States Army.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Please take your seats. Throughout the history of warfare, a general officer's personal flag symbolized leadership on the battlefield. The original flags authorized for general officers were boat flags, scarlet in color. The use of flags were first authorized under General Order No. 4, dated 22 August 1903. As Army officers made official visits to naval vessels during wartime. At this time, please welcome to the stage the Senior Enlisted Advisor for Manpower and Personnel, the Joint Staff, Chief Master Sergeant Michel Lachance, United States Air Force, for the unfurling of Major General Jennings' two-star flag. Authorization of flags was further expanded in 1923 to include automobile, field, and office flags. Line officers had scarlet flags, and staff officers normally had flags of their branch color. Assisted by Chief Master Sergeant Lachance, and having been nominated by the President of the United States, confirmed by the United States Senate, and duly promoted to the rank of Major General, the two-star flag is unfurled in honor of Major General Paige M. Jennings. In 1947, all general officer flags except Medical Corps and Chaplain flags were changed to scarlet with white stars and gold fringe. Thank you, Chief Master Sergeant Lachance. Military has incorporated the use of the flag to signify the presence of a general or flag officer. This flag will be present at all military functions and visibly displayed in the office of general officers. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my distinct honor and privilege to introduce, for the very first time, the Director of Manpower and Personnel for the Joint Staff, Major General Paige M. Jennings.
So everybody can hear me. Those of you that know me know I'm usually not at a loss for words. And ceremonies, I think, are such a special part of what we do. And in 31 years, I think this is the hardest ceremony that I've ever feel like I had to get through. And hopefully that'll be clear to you. I'm going to try and keep my remarks short because I look out in the audience and I really want time to spend with everybody at the reception and talk. But first and foremost, thank you so much for coming out. As I was telling Lieutenant General Retired Chamberlain, there is somebody here from every duty station that I have been at for 31 years, to include the Joint Staff. And I think that was a little surreal to me, and it was very humbling. And I didn't have any idea that that was going to occur. First, I would like to thank my wonderful staff on the J1. If you're in the J1, please stand up. Please join me in a round of applause. Thank you. I need to give a big shout out to Colonel Dwayne Wade, my chief of staff. I gave him about a week and a half to prepare this. As many of us know, I was at General Morgan's ceremony, I was at Rebecca's ceremony, and so on the 30th of January, which usually doesn't happen, usually we stair-stepped, they confirmed the whole list. So as you can imagine, there's been ceremonies all over the place. And so thank you, Dwayne, for everything that you've done. To my front office, Mr. Sean Lear, my vice director. Sean has affectionately picked up the title squirrel for me as well, as have all my team, Lieutenant Colonel Jeremy Brown, Lieutenant Colonel Brittany Morgan, and my front office from the prior year, Lieutenant Colonel Christina Aclivia and Lieutenant Colonel Sherry Bowling. Please join me in a round of applause for the beautiful rendition of our national anthem by Amanda. Thank you, Chaplain Whalen, for the beautiful invocation. I want to give a shout out to Vice Admiral Garvin and Brigadier General Kirsten Aguilar. When I came to them and asked them, could I do a ceremony, they did not hesitate and allowed me to have this ceremony here. And a special thanks to Ms. Beasley, Mr. Wynn, and the entire team for helping put this on. Lieutenant General Chamberlain, thank you for your kind words. Everybody that I've ever had do a promotion for me, it's been a little bit different. It's not always been the person that I worked for. It's somebody that I know that has greatly impacted me and got me here. And without a doubt, I can say that is you. When I met you and asked you, what do I need to do after I was living in the Special Ops Intel War for so long? And you were very emphatic that you said, you've got to get back out. While you allowed me to stay until I was a colonel, and then you had to figure out who I was. But it was those words that made me think about that. And you took the time out and did not know me to talk me through what I needed to do to be successful, but you still supported me. And you've been there ever since. Thank you. I would like to recognize also some of the distinguished visitors and friends that are here. Christine. We go all the way back to Fort Eustis. You and me and Mike, and there's so many of us. Thank you so much for coming. You have been to all of my ceremonies, and you are such a valuable friend to me. Thank you so much. Mr. and Mrs. Spear, General Chamberlain was right. Sir, you are at everything for all of us within the Army financial management community. And it doesn't matter how big or small, you never ask why. It's where do you need me? And sir, that goes a long way. Thank you very, very much. Vice Admiral Kacher, our director on the Joint Staff, Lieutenant General Isaacson, Major General Choquette, Mr. Bill Butcher, and so many others as I look across OSW. I've been on the Joint Staff and had the privilege, and I see so many people out here, to be on there for 20 months. And it's a nominative position, and I have enjoyed it. And it is one of the most rewarding positions I think I have had in 31 years, working with all of the services, working across the Pentagon. And as you can see, it is no secret, I made sure that every one of the services that works for me is represented here. Online, I would also like to call out Lieutenant General Retired Cardone, Mr. Aaron Gillison, and as well, Lieutenant General Retired Horlander and Lieutenant General Bennett. And I would also like to say thank you to all the other generals, flag officers, senior executives, civilians, military, and family and friends that are here. As I've already said, I believe that ceremonies are a special part of our military tradition, not only for us, but for the families, friends, and coworkers. Whether we are gathering for a promotion, a retirement, or an assumption of command, it's a small sliver of time that we can celebrate together. It's also a reflection of the friendships and the memories. And this afternoon, I want to share a couple tidbits with you. 31 years ago, I made a choice to pursue the military career. As many of you know, we were born in Missoula, Montana. Anybody that knows me, I talk about Montana all the time. And that is where our hearts lie. In fact, we spend time there every year. And as my husband and I continue to do this military journey and build our retirement home, I look forward to the time that we can spend, and it's just us, and we can RV, and we can do all kinds of fun things. Fish, all those things. But it wasn't until 2 years ago in my job, when I was the commanding general at U.S. Army Financial Management Command, that I truly thought about how did I get standing on this stage. And you heard Lieutenant General Chamberlain talk about it. Somebody asked me what made me come in the military, and I hadn't really thought about it. But if it wouldn't have been for Colonel Tony McDermott, I would not have been standing here, because there wasn't anybody to talk to me. And so I share that with all of you, because you never know how a simple conversation with somebody, for us that are prior military, civilian, or military, how it would change a life. I would encourage you in the next year, find 1 or 2 people and have that conversation, because you just don't know, and you take that 15 minutes to have it, and you will change the destiny of our nation. You heard Lieutenant General Chamberlain talk about my family. With both of our parents as educators and my sister and I, there's obviously not a lot we could get past them. There'd be a party on a Friday night, and I'd come home and say, oh, we're going to go out. My dad'd say, no, no, no. And I could get busted either in Missoula or down in Florence. And it did happen, because I would show up at a party, and the students would go to school, and they would tell my mom, and I'd be busted for not being where I was at. Three years ago, in 3 days, I pinned on 1 star. And I received advice at that time from Lieutenant General Retired Edward Cardone. I had spent 6 months working directly for him with a group. Where's Mike? Where's Ben Jensen? There was a little group of us, much to General Horlander's chagrin and General Chamberlain's chagrin, that got pulled over to stand up and figure out what this new 4-star command was at Army Futures Command. And we worked on that. And General Cardone became a mentor to me at that time. And when I got ready to put on my 1st star, this is what he told me. Remember these 2 things. Take time to enjoy the moment of the day and savor it. And he reminded me that again in this ceremony. He emailed me the other day and he said, really savor this, for this is the last promotion you will ever have in the Army. And I thought about it, because anything after a 2-star, if you're ever lucky enough to get there, is an appointment. And I had never thought about it like that. And he said, make sure you take the time. But he also said, your time is the most valuable thing you can give, and everybody is going to put something on your calendar. Make sure that you take that 10 or 15 minutes to spend time with somebody. And I have tried to do it ever since. And I will tell you, one of the most special times, and for those, I see some of the people from U.S. Army Financial Management Command that are here, retired Sergeant Major Chris Reynolds, Mark Orders Wampner, and I know there's people online. We would always bring in people and we would do an oath of office for every civilian, and we would greet every new person that came into the command. And we had a young civilian and we brought her in. And at the end, she goes, can I just have a picture with you as a general officer? I've never met one. And her mom was a retired NCO. And there are so many instances of that you take, and just having a conversation. Something is so simple. I was in the commander's dining room, our executive dining facility, and one of the Pentagon Force Protection Police, his son was a finance person, and he wanted to know about a job. And our J8 Vice Admiral Joyner, well, I just happen to know somebody, it's finance. And I sat and talked with him, and then I sat and talked with his son, who was in school and trying to get into the federal workforce, and just hadn't had a conversation with him on how to build a resume and what he needed to do to become a civilian in the service. I share those because those are those little 10 or 15 minutes that, much to my front office chagrin when I change the calendar, are the most important things that we can do. As I stand here today in the job as the Director of Manpower and Personnel, I feel my circle is complete. I was commissioned in 1995, and I was in the first officer basic course at the Soldier Support Institute at lovely Fort Jackson, South Carolina. But our sister branch that is in one wing over is the Adjutant General Corps. And throughout our entire career, finance and Adjutant General, we are side by side in everything that we do. Who would have ever thought that I would have been able to serve as the Joint Staff Director of Manpower Personnel? Now, I will tell you, when I met Mr. Lear, he looked at me, he's like, you're not HR? I was like, no, I'm finance. But Sean, you've taken me in, you've continued to teach me, and to all of our HR professionals that work for us across all the services, you have truly taught me so much. To my HR Army people, Greg Johnson, Jen Wolkowitz, thank you so much for keeping me straight when I have a question. I have truly loved every job that I have worked, but in my 31 years, as I said earlier, I don't know that I've ever had such a most honoring job as the one now that I'm in. And that is because of what we do for the nation and what we do for the entire joint force. The U.S. military is truly the premier force in the world, where strength lies not only in what we bring to the fight, but who we bring with it, our people. And that is our soldiers and our civilians that are there. I already said, as you look across, every service works for me with the exception of the Space Force, and they're all part of this. They had to learn, we had to do some stuff. Mitchie, fantastic. She had to learn a little bit of Army D&C. But my staff did not even question. They jumped in to do an Army ceremony. As I look across the audience, I see many of you here. I never imagined I would be standing here today with so many tremendous leaders and civilians. I still cannot put into word my feelings after seeing the confirmation. And as I told General Chamberlain earlier, as I walked out here and saw everybody and I understood every assignment that I've been at, it's truly emotional, the amount of people that have come out. But it was truly surreal yesterday because my ID card was expiring on Monday. So my front office